Hello Facebook, Nicole Miller here, coming to you live from the Spraque fire in West Glacier. I'm at the fire camp right now with Phil Manuel. He's a meteorologist stationed here at the fire camp. And I'm just going to flip the camera around. Hi,
Hello.
Phil.
Hi.
Thanks for being with us today. Just kind of curious about why there is a meteorologist in the fire camp.
Well, I'll tell you what, my name's Phil. I am a National Weather Service incident meteorologist. I travel all over the country for fire. Of course, we've got the one in our backyard right here in Glacier National Park, West Glacier. So that is why I'm here. And typically with fire teams, you will have a number of specialists that serve on the team. You'll have a meteorologist, you will have a fire behavior analyst, and you will have a long-term analyst sometimes. And we work together as scientists to make predictions, not just on the weather, but how the fire is going to behave and where that fire will move next. So that's why we're here and trying to predict where this fire is going to go.
Okay, and every morning I know you are a big part of the updates and kind of like how you plan how you're going to attack the fire. Can you tell us about that morning update this morning and kind of what you told?
From the standpoint of this particular fire, one of the things that we look at past weather because in a sense that's what started the fire. Lightning started it. It was weather that started this fire. And what happened here, we went for about 2 months, July and August, without any rain to speak of. I think if you look at the weather records for Kalispell, only about 0.23 of an inch of rain has fallen here in 2 months. So that's pretty dry. And then you compound that by putting some lightning on the ground, and then you get yourself fire. Not just this fire, but there are a number of fires across the region. Something that I look at, of course, is the daily weather that will impact this particular fire. And a westerly wind versus an easterly wind will have an impact on where that fire is going to move next.
Okay. And over the last couple days, we've seen a lot of smoke related to the Spraque fire. What has the activity been on the fire, and how does the smoke kind of impact that?
Well, I'll tell you what, wind sometimes is your friend and sometimes it's your foe. Of course, wind will blow on a fire just like you would a campfire to get it started, and that's what makes a fire run. But when you turn the wind off, if it becomes calm, like the last 4 days, and you don't have any movement of air whatsoever, then whatever smoke is generated by the fire remains in place. So at some point you become smoked in. It's like taking a water glass over a candle, and as you gradually snuff the candle out, it starts to generate more smoke and it doesn't move. So we have our own smoke, you have the fires across the region making smoke, and it just sits in place. So for the last, I guess since Tuesday, it's Friday now, we've had 3 to 4 days of accumulation of this smoke. And now, the change that's coming up is going to get rid of that. So, the big question for folks is, when is the smoke going to leave? And my answer to that is Saturday with the frontal passage that we're expecting. There is a strong Pacific front that's going to come across Washington and Oregon beginning today, and then it's going to sweep through the northern Rockies on Saturday. And at that point in time, the winds are going to increase, and we're going to start to ventilate or get rid of this smoke. The caveat to that is, the fire is waiting on some oxygen because we've in a sense smothered it with its own smoke. And once you get rid of the smoke, then the fire is going to have the oxygen it needs to move again, and we're going to see this fire get up and grow.
Okay. And what kind of weather conditions are you expecting tonight and into tomorrow?
Into tomorrow? Well, with the front, there's a couple of things that happen. Of course, there's the threat for showers and or a thunderstorm. There's not a high likelihood of that occurring, but if we do get a thunderstorm, of course, that could start new fires from any lightning that we would get from that particular storm, or just a shower in general. you know, if you get a shower, you get a little bit of wind out of that, and again, wind is oxygen, and that will affect what's going on the ground. So, you know, we're really attuned to what's going on. We're looking at radar, we're looking at satellite picture, and monitoring the weather coming in, because that's another thing that I do here for the team. It's about the safety of the team, because we put a lot of firefighters out there on the ground, and if it looks like we're going to get a wind shift, you know, something that would impact the fire such that they need to get out of the way, or we need to warn people about, then that's why I'm here. So I can continually monitor the weather for them, for the local folks here, and let them know where the fire is going to move next. As far as the front coming through on Saturday, it is a concern. We are expecting winds to increase Saturday afternoon with the front moving in here. Anywhere I would venture to guess wind speeds of 20 to as much as 30 miles an hour when it comes through. And it's going to blow for quite some time. You know, we're talking tomorrow afternoon and into the day Sunday. So for the remainder of the weekend, it'll be a concern of where that wind may push this fire. And if you look at the map that I have, that we have posted here, here's Lake McDonald, here's Apgar, the entrance coming into West Glacier. The fire is on the east side of the lake. This is the footprint that it has made so far, and a westerly sort of wind would be coming across the lake, or coming, you know, kind of across the lake in this direction, and it should push the fire farther into the park as opposed to threatening the highway or to the Apgar or West Glacier. So a west wind for us is favorable in the sense that it will push the fire in an easterly direction. Of course, you know, the threats then become the Walton drainage. We'll look down toward the Harrison Lake area and areas back up to the east, and that again is what kind of compromised during that last wind episode up next to the Spraque complex, when that westerly sort of wind carried this fire and compromised that complex. So we're very attuned to what's going on, and we will be monitoring that, because now if the fire grows to an area that would cover more of this sort of ground, then, well, what would happen if we had an easterly wind, or what would happen if we had a northerly wind? So we look at those sort of things, you know, 3 or 4 days out, and that's what, again, myself as a meteorologist, the fire behavior analyst, and the long-term analyst, it's just like that's what he's here for. He's looking at long-term. Where will this fire go long-term? And then we try to plan accordingly, and if evacuations are needed, that's what we try to execute.
Okay, a lot of folks are pretty concerned, and I know you guys have really been working to protect the Lake McDonald Lodge structure. With the weather patterns that you're predicting for the weekend, where does that kind of sit? Well,
you know, the last 2 or 3 days, the smoke has been our friend, believe it or not. It's unhealthy for us to breathe, but it's actually helped us to prepare, because, again, think of the water glass over the candle. It's kind of snuffed the fire down to where it's not moving, which is allowing the crews to go in to do things around the lodge in terms of, you know, maybe wrapping some of the structures, to insert sprinkler systems, those sort of things, such that you know, they can keep this area moist. And even if the fire were to back down this slope and get closer, that would add a level of protection. Something else that's planned over the next few days is, if or as soon as the visibility improves anyway, is getting some aircraft in here, additional aircraft. We call them scoopers, where they can fly the length of the lake. They scoop up water, and then they would start putting water on this western flank of this fire. Again, in a sense, creating artificial rain, so to speak, to help wet this area down. The planes would then pass, scoop up more water, and then continue this cycle. So don't be surprised that over the next several days, once the air clears, you see more aircraft in the area doing that sort of work.
Okay. And just one more quick question. Can we expect to see rain anytime in the near future?
That is $1 million question. Outside of the meager threat of rain that we have with this front coming through, I guess our next best opportunity would be toward the end of next week. As everyone knows, there's 3 hurricanes out there right now in the east. And you would think, well, geez, what does a hurricane have to do with stuff on the west coast? Well, you've got Irma, you've got Jose, you've got Katia. There's a lot of energy being expelled by those hurricanes in the east. And as they, say Irma moves northbound up into the eastern U.S., that kind of backs up the flow and changes the wind flow patterns across the whole United States. So there is a connection. And from what we see, the connection may be a system that would come farther south, maybe out of Canada, bring a little bit more cooler air in here toward the end of the week. I've heard rumors of snow for some of the higher elevations, maybe. At the very least, it's going to bring a change in the weather pattern such that we get cooler air coming in here for the end of next week. Question mark on whether we get much precipitation, rain and or snow. But we'll be looking at that, and of course as it gets closer in time, then you're going to see it in the forecast.
All right, Phil. Well, we certainly appreciate your expertise. This is a beloved area, as you know.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
These are treasures to be protected, so we appreciate it. And I'm going to sign off now. So we will have a full update on the Spraque fire coming up tonight in our newscast at 5:30 and at 10, so stick with us. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.